Well, we're back in the studio tonight, talking all things sports, talking about life, talking about everything. Of course, ceiling still soundproof. The wife upstairs relaxing on this Tuesday evening. I'm here in the studios watching the Stanley Cup playoffs. Big night tonight, the NHL. The big award tonight, of course, for Zach Werenski getting the Norris Trophy for Best Defenseman. He definitely deserves it. Definitely deserves it. The end of the walleye season, and now we see the fish heading to Europe. Talk about that. But, of course, lots to get into tonight. It's a big night. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. As I'm doing the podcast now, the start of the third period. I'll give you some play-by-play later on here of what's happening. But for the first time in a long time since the end of the walleye season, I say, I love you guys. And a very pleasant good evening to you, and welcome into another edition of All Andy Alfred right here on your exclusive home for me, and that is with the All Andy Alfred Podcast Network, whether it be on Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Bleaker, however you're listening to us, wherever and whenever you're listening to us. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast tonight. You can be a part of the show by following us on Twitter. It is at All Andy Alfred. It is at All Andy Alfred, as well as Facebook.com/All Andy Alfred. And welcome to the show tonight on the second day of June 2026. Yes, it's a penultimate day, 6-2-2-6. So if you did it the opposite way, it's 6-2-2-6. Plain and simple. Welcome into the podcast and welcome into the show tonight. Lots to get into, of course. We'll get into what's happening with the Stanley Cup Finals. Of course, you'll hear my prediction for the NBA Finals too, with the final two teams as the fall sports are coming to an end. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit too about the big trade that took place yesterday in the NFL with Myles Garrett. We'll talk about that. Also, we'll preview the Belmont Stakes as well as the U.S. Women's Open that will be taking place this week at Riviera in California. Big field, and I want to talk a little bit about that some more in depth tonight as well. And we'll give you some programming notes also for next week as well, as we have a big week ahead coming up for All Andy Alfred. So it is truly a pleasure to be with you on the program tonight on the second day of June. And again, you can follow us, like and subscribe, as well as subscribe to the podcast. We do podcasts each week right here on the All Andy Alfred Podcast Network. Now, I want to get into some housekeeping first and foremost before we begin. We're back on the air. We're going to do a show tonight. We'll be doing another show Friday to get you ready for the weekend as well. Also, and to recap what we've witnessed so far for these next few days, next week, Thursday, yours truly will be on the road. We're heading up to mid-Michigan yet again for a fantastic couple days. Friday, we will be at Midland Country Club for the Dow Championships on Friday. Yours truly will be there. We're going to be taking some footage and taking some photos and taking in the tournament, of course, the LPGA in Midland, Michigan for the team event after this weekend's U.S. Women's Open. The field who is at the U.S. Women's Open is going to play in the Dow Championship, and then that will lead into the championship that's going to take place in Grand Rapids for the Meyer LPGA event that's going to be taking place. But it all ties into next year with the 2027 U.S. Women's Open, and we'll be previewing that furthermore on the program. And by the way, all our golf coverage is sponsored by our good friends at Scramble Stick. And the new Scramble clip attaches to the front strut, which is the best strut to put your Scramble Stick on, all made in the USA. Visit our good friends at scramblestick.com for more information, and we'll put the link on the podcast for that. So there is that for you guys. Also, got to make mention of this as well, too. Again, we're doing 2 podcasts a week. We'll be doing shows either on Tuesday or Wednesday and a Friday show, and or we some parts of the summer we're going to be wow, good goal. As I just looked up, and Vegas had the 4-3 lead. Carolina just scored, hit the over tonight for myself. I was over set at 5.5. It's now 4-4. So we might be playing long tonight in the NHL Stanley Cup Finals too. So I just looked up as I'm doing this housekeeping bit here as I'm reading it off my sheet. But again, we'll be doing podcasts twice in a week, Tuesday or Wednesday, and then on Friday to get you ready for the weekend ahead. Tuesday to recap what we witnessed. Also, we could do podcast Monday. It could be possibly. So stick with us. Remember, subscribe to the podcast. And we're doing shows each week. So there's the housekeeping. Everything else with me is doing very, very well. Getting a chance to hang out with my wife's my sister-in-law and her husband and the kids tomorrow at the Toledo Zoo. Looking forward to that tomorrow and hanging out with them. They're from Pennsylvania. Good to see them. And I want to welcome Jess and Zach and the whole family back to Toledo for this special week here on to come back for a week to spend the week back in Northwest Ohio. She used to live here. Now she lives there. They live in Pennsylvania, Dutch country. I love it. Anyway, with that in mind, I want to open up with an Andy rants tonight, and then I'm going to get into the sports talk. I don't like talking political on here, but I am worried going into this summer. Now, we have a lot of big events happening in Northwest Ohio, of course. We have a lot of festivals, a lot of events coming up, and a lot of great family events coming into the Northwest Ohio area. You have this weekend. You have the Old West End Festival. You had your oh my God, I forgot the top of my head. The event over at St. Joseph's out in Sylvania. You have all these church soirees and rummage sales and different events, concerts, party in the park. You'll have the German American Fest, the Hungarian Festival, all these events, and the big, of course, the America celebrating its 250th birthday. I worry about what this summer is going to entail, especially with what's happening with our youth in the city and what we witnessed this past Saturday at Our Lady of Perpetual Health. Now, if you are not aware of what happened, basically a person told a police officer that they spotted a gun in the crowd, and it was with a lot of younger people, teenagers, between the ages of 13 to 19. Was a lot of, and there was a lot of families and a lot of older generation people that were there to celebrate this festival, which is a big festival for the community in the south end of Toledo. Now, what happened after all that is that it was found that there was an airsoft pistol in a purse. And this is what I'm going off of what I've seen off the news and everything like that. But what worries me the most is what is going to happen this summer. Of course, we're seeing more and more nowadays of children and teenagers becoming of this teen takeovers and these, basically causing disruption and tearing stuff up and destroying property and stuff like that, and carrying weapons and stuff like that, and not caring about the community. My concern is this. Is this going to be what it's going to be all summer? I worry about the people like myself, the older generation, the families, everybody like that wants to go out and have a good time. These kids are not following the rules. And I'm going to just say it right off the bat. It's on the parents. It is really on the parents. Because to be honest with you, you have to be a parent first and then a friend second. What we're seeing nowadays with children, especially in this generation, is that the parents want to be more of a friend to their kid than be an actual parent and set up guidelines, set up rules, and set up, you know, ideas in teaching these kids. And these kids are then following what their parents are doing, what their parents are saying, what their parents are 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 becoming friendly and buddy instead of, laying down the law, laying down what needs to be done. I know it's not the 1950s and not the 1960s. I'm not talking Ward and June Cleaver, and I'm not talking all that. I would like to see parents be parents and take the responsibility of what happens when their child acts up. Now we saw it yet, but we're seeing it more or less with what happens with, unfortunately, with these school shootings. That especially the one that's up in Michigan, that the parents get charged because the kid has the gun, and the gun is registered by the parents. So can it be the same way if a child causes panic at a festival? Can it be the same thing if a parent can be charged if their kid destroys public property or destroys things or goes against the police, you know? And it's on the parents. That's really what I want to say. But it's a threefold system. Parents is the number one thing. The number two thing is the policing. Of course, we have to go into a zero tolerance situation with these kids, especially now with school being out. You're going to get a lot of parents and a lot of kids out and about, and these parents who are working are doing what they do best when the snow day happens, and that's dropping them off at the mall and letting it be. Absolutely letting it be. And not letting the kids have letting them run wild, destroy. It reminds me of the old movie from Disney, Pinocchio, when the boys go to Fantasy Island and they're destroying everything and smoking cigars and eating food and destroying property, and then they turn into donkeys. That is what our children are becoming because of that. And I blame the parents because of it. I honestly do blame the parents because of it. It's not just the parents, it's again on policing, because with what happened at OLPH, to me, the cops just stood there and basically stood down to these kids. Stood down to these kids. And they went into the neighborhoods, knocked down trash, destroyed property, and caused problems. Honestly, caused problems. And if it's gonna happen there, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen at the gaff. It's gonna happen at Party in the Parks. It's gonna happen at Hensville. It's gonna happen at all these festivals and events and these kid takeovers. So that I blame. So we as a society need to go ahead and go enforce a zero tolerance and an insubordination. I have to say it. If you're a TSA kid, you know what I'm going for. We have to go to an insubordination policy when it comes to stuff like that, especially this summer, to lay down the law. And the kids have to know that. The kids have to definitely know that. They have to lay down the law. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. The third thing is about the community. With the city government. I'm tired of hearing all these Well, the kids don't have anything to do, so let's create programs and create things for them to do and stuff like. What are they gonna do after 5 o'clock? After 7 o'clock? After the lights go down? They continue the event. The event doesn't stop at 5 o'clock. The kids don't go to bed at 5 o'clock. Especially in the summer. When I grew up, I went to bed at 10:30, 11 o'clock. I still go to bed at 10:30, 11 o'clock. But still, kids need to know, kids and parents need to step up and take the responsibility when it comes to stuff like that. Because I have a feeling it's going to be a long summer, and we're going to see a lot of incidents. And that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. It isn't a good thing to have that happen. So I just wanted to lay that out there for what I've witnessed, and I have seen what happened on Saturday at OLPH, what I have seen so far early on in the summer season. It's not a good start to the summer. Not a good start to the summer. So we need the parents to step up and be parents. And is this going to turn into a kid getting killed because of all the situation? Not because of the police. And I'm not saying that the police are going to, shoot kids and stuff like that. But I'm saying this. Kids need to be parents need to be parents first, and then friends second. These kids need guidance. If the kids get guidance, the world's going to be fine. If we are doing what we're doing now, I worry of what this generation's going to be. And that's my Andy rants. Now, let's get into sports. Sports soccer. Sorry, I was on my soapbox. 4 minutes and 10 seconds to go in the third period. Vegas 4, Carolina 4. We'll keep you updated on this as we're on the air. But I want to open up with baseball first and foremost, and I want to open up with the Tigers. Oh my gosh! Oh my god! My god! This season has proved me one thing. Never, ever believe the hype. Never believe the hype. Ever believe the hype. Plain and simple. Never believe the hype. Because the fact is this. I think we're digging ourselves into a hole that we're not going to be able to dig ourselves out of. Bear in mind, yes, 2 big wins over the last 48 hours for this Tiger team isn't going to cut it, though. After being swept on the south side of Chicago. And by the way, interesting quote. Our good friend of the podcast, Nick the Money Man DeVera, who I am glad to finally get to chat with in person the other night. He can't pass over. Wow. Hold on just a second. It is Vegas just scored 3 minutes and 24 seconds to go in the game. And I think it's at Tomas. Yeah, it is Tomas Hertl for Vegas. Gets the goal. What a goal. Nice pass out. Stone with the coverage. Walks right up down the middle and buries it. It looks like Simmons with the pass over to Hertl, and Hertl just puts the biscuit in the basket. It's now 5-4 Vegas with 3 minutes and 24 seconds to go. Wow, unbelievable. But our good friend, Nick the Money Man DeVera, gave me an interesting quote. It was from Bob Nightingale, who's the big sports writer for USA Today. He wrote this comment up on the 30th, which was on Sunday. The Tigers were 18-17, and the Chicago White Sox were 16-18 when Terrence Skubal went on the injured reserve on May the 4th. Since that day, the Chicago White Sox have gained 11 games in the standings overall. And in the 24 games that the Tigers have played, the Tigers went 4-20. While the White Sox went 15-9. And the White Sox swept the Tigers this past weekend. And how can it be for me, it's the Tigers can get swept by the White Sox, but they have taken the first 2 games of the series against the Tampa Bay Rays, who are the best team in the American League East, at 36-22 going into the series. They've gained 2 games out of the situation. Big win tonight for them, too. Big win. Huge win for the Tigers. Tigers win tonight, shutting out the Rays 8-0. Flaherty with the win. He gets his first win of the season. He's 1-7. Matz gets the loss. Steven Matz, he gets the loss. He goes to 4-3. So there's that. The concluding of the game of the series will be tomorrow. And for me, it'll be interesting to see how Detroit will play tomorrow against Tampa, this 3-game series. And then you come home for a huge series against the American League champion, Seattle Mariners. You go play against the Seattle Mariners. Huge series. You play the Mariners. I want to say it's a 3-game series starting on Friday, if I'm not mistaken. But I might be. Yep. It is a 3-game series. 3-game series against the Mariners. So it's huge. This is a huge series for Detroit. And tomorrow on the bump for Detroit, it will be Melton. He's 1-0 with a 1.42 ERA. Martinez will start for Tampa. He's 5-1 with a 1.62 ERA in that round. So we'll see how Detroit does. 1:10 first pitch for tomorrow afternoon at the Trop. Now let's talk about the other team on the lake, the Guardians. Guardians are in New York, coming off of a big series that they had last weekend against Boston, losing 2-3 to the Red Sox. And the Red Sox are a good team too, but they're in New York, and lo and behold, the Guardians can get the job done. They win 9-4 tonight over the Yankees. Schlittner gets the loss. He goes to 7-3 with a 1.89 ERA. Holman gets the win. He goes to 4-1 with a 2.25 ERA. 2.25 ERA. So it's good to see Schlittner getting the loss in that realm. And really quickly, I wanted to get to the box score for this game because of the fact of this. But it's just, for Detroit's sake, let me finish up the Guardians here really quickly. Guardians will play the next 2 games in New York, and then they will come back home. They'll continue the road trip and go to Texas, and then they come back home to play the Yankees. It's an interesting development regarding the Guardians, and the Guardians are still holding the top spot in the American League Central Division right now, with their record of 35-27. 35-27 leading the division. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable in that ranking. And then you have the White Sox that are sitting there in second. And let me see here really quickly. Their record, the White Sox record right now is 32-29. They're 2.5 games out of first place. And Minnesota's 29-33. They're 6 games out. Tigers are 24-38 after the 2 wins that they've got against Tampa Bay, and then Kansas City rolling up the rear at 23-38. And by the way, Kansas City tonight losing in the walk-off fashion by Benson ties it with a home run in the bottom of the ninth inning, and then in the extra frame, the Reds, Blake Dunn singles, brings in Steer, and wins it for the Reds for the 4-3 win. And they're now worried about L.A. De La Cruz. I can understand that. They got absolutely obliterated on Monday night. It was sad to see that game. I watched a lot of that game. That game was on WTVG in Toledo, 13 ABC on the big network. You put the Reds on the big network, and that happens. You can't have that happen. So again, the Royals are bad. The Tigers are bad. And, we are getting some positives. Verlander is with the Mud Hens. And by the way, the Mud Hens stink. They're not very good this year. There's some bright spots, of course, with this team. But, the whole situation with the manager being fired halfway through the season, it's been an interesting run for the Mud Hens. And now you have Verlander pitching. They're going to get Scooble to go into that rotation too. So maybe the Tigers are going to bounce back out of it. We'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out. But again, Guardians leading the division. They're 35-27. The White Sox are sitting there at 32-29. And the White Sox, very, very good. If you look at their run score, they have 285 runs scored against 282. Their home record is 20-11. Their road record is 12-18. They're a +3 in differential. They've lost their last two, unfortunately, after the series sweep against the Tigers. But it is what it is. You got to bounce. They'll bounce back pretty easily in their upcoming games. I mean, you play tough. You're playing tough opponents. White Sox tonight we're playing the. Let me pull it up really quickly. They were in Minnesota to play the Twins. The Twins beat them 6-4 tonight. So that's not a good sign there. 2 losses to the Twins. That's not going to help your case out, especially with the Twins on your heels. So that's not good. So hopefully White Sox could turn that around. But other games of note, of course, the big one, Philadelphia gets a 3-2 win over San Diego. But the kid from San Diego, kid from Northwest Ohio, who played at Central Catholic, he gets the call up to the major leagues in his first major league at bat. Gets a bloop single. Chase Bowen, the left fielder, gets the hit. He struck out 3 times. He was 1 for 4. He struck out to end the game. But the Padres end up losing the game 3-2. But Bowen gets the major league debut with the single. So it's good to see a local kid get the opportunity to do it. And it's just gone final in Carolina tonight. And we'll break it down here in just a few seconds. Vegas gets the win 5-4 over the Carolina Hurricanes. Tomas Hertl gets the game-winning goal. It is his first in Stanley Cup playoff history. His 4th career playoff goal, game-winning goal in the postseason. And Kaplan's doing the interview right now as I'm watching this live. But Vegas is going to be very, very good. Now there are plus money going into tonight's game to win the Stanley Cup. They were I think a plus 350, and Carolina was a minus 150 in the series. So I'm having that feeling that Vegas is going to become the favorite because of this. If Vegas can get 2 wins out of Carolina, this series could be done in 5. I think and here's the thing. And I'll get more to the baseball talk here in just a second. I think Vegas could be the shocker of it all. I said it early on in the playoffs that I was rooting for Buffalo. Buffalo gets eliminated by Montreal, and then Montreal then gets eliminated by Carolina. I love John Tortorella. I love Torts. He got the job in Vegas with 6 games left to go in the regular season. He gets the job, and he's led this team all the way. And Torch is doing a good job. I think Vegas is the team. I think it's going to go the distance, though. I think it's going to go a full 7. If Carolina can get game 2 out of this series, if they can get game 2 out of the series, we'll have a series. But if Vegas takes game 2, this series might be done in 5. It might be done in 5, but in my opinion, I think it is Vegas to win the Stanley Cup. I think Carolina can't get over the hump of that. I think Vegas gets it in 7. Vegas is the veteran team of this, and they've only got a couple guys left from their cup run from a few years ago. But yes, Vegas gets the win tonight, 5-4 over Carolina. We'll break it down here in just a few seconds, but back to the baseball really quickly. Of course, Tigers 8-0 win tonight over the Rays. The Guardians a 9-4 win over the Yankees. In extras, the Reds a 4-3 win over the Royals. And then you had the Cubs beat up on the Sacramento A's. Sacramento beats up on the Cubs 2-1 tonight, and the White Sox fall to the Twins by the score of 6-4. So games tomorrow, of course. The final game of the series for the Tigers against the Rays. It will be Melton 1-0 with a 1.42 ERA. He'll take on Martinez, who's 5-1 with a 1.62 ERA. 1:10 start time for that one. At 1:40 for the White Sox, it'll be Freedy 0-5 with a 5.40 ERA. He'll take on Bradley, who's 5-1 with a 3.21 ERA. 7:10 in the Queen City, it'll be Chase Burns, who is having a gem of a season. 7-1 with a 1.96 ERA. He'll take on Kolak, who is 3-1 with a 3.48 ERA. 7:10 first pitch for that one in the Queen City. And at 7:05, Garrett Cole will make his second start of the season. For the Yankees, he's 1-0 with a 0 ERA. He'll take on Williams, who's 8-3 with a 3.07 ERA. 7:05 first pitch in that affair tomorrow in Gotham City. So there's all that for you guys. That's all the baseball talk. And again, I worry about the Tigers. I think the Tigers are digging themselves into a huge hole. I think if they want to get into this, and make this a series, make themselves, relevant again, then possibly, they have to start winning games. They've got Tampa tomorrow, 3-game series against Seattle, which is huge. It's a huge series for the Tigers with Seattle. You get them for 3 games in Detroit, and then you play. 3-game series against Seattle, and then a 3-game series against the Minnesota Twins. Huge series. If you need to bounce back and get back into the hunt, these next few games after tomorrow afternoon's game against Tampa is huge. We will know what this team will look like. You make point judgment calls at Memorial Day, at the 4th of July, and at Labor Day. Right now, after Memorial Day, where I see the Tigers right now, I am extremely worried. I'm extremely worried. The offense is not there, not good, and I'm sick and tired of Winsell Perez. Get rid of him. To see Gleyber Torres hit that home run at the beginning of the game tonight was fantastic to see. To see Kerry Carpenter come back after having that rehab stint in Toledo, it was good to see. But the pitching needs to get back into the swing of things, and the hitting and the defense needs to really, really step up. If they do that, they can get back into the playoff. Get back into the playoff picture. Plain simple. Plain simple. I take a sip of water. So there's that. So that's the baseball talk. Now, let's get into what we just witnessed and what we just finished up over here as Vegas gets the huge win tonight over Carolina in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final by the score of 5-4 tonight. Recapping the scoring, it was a barn burner after 20 minutes of play. As Nikolai Ehlers gets his fifth of the playoffs, 25 seconds into the game, the first shot on goal, and it's 1-0 at the 25-second mark of the first period. And then at the 12:08 mark of the period, Ehlers again gets his second of the night, sixth of the season. It's 2-0 Carolina. Then Shea Theodore capitalizes for Vegas as Shea Theodore scores a minute and 20 seconds later for his fifth of the campaign from McNabb and Smith, and it's 2-1 Carolina after 20 minutes of play. Carolina was out shooting Vegas in that period by the score of 12-4. You get into the second period, and Vegas turned on the heat. Ian Barbashev gets his sixth of the campaign from Eichel and McNabb, tying the game 30 seconds into the second period. And it's a tie hockey game. Then William Karlsson, or as George calls him, Bill, Bill capitalizes with his second of the playoffs from Mitch Marner and Howden. It's 3-2 Vegas, 4 minutes 35 seconds into that period, and then to stop the bleeding, then at the 12:42 mark of the period, Jordan Staal capitalizes, ties the game at 3 with his third goal of the playoffs. Miller gets the assist on that, and after 40 minutes, it was Carolina out shooting Vegas 16-15. Vegas had 11 shots on goal in the second period in that one. Then you get into the third. It was an interesting third period as we were watching it right here in the man cave as we were doing the podcast. Brent Howden gets his 11th of the campaign from Theodore and McNabb. It's 4-3 Vegas, a minute 21 into the third period. And then Shane Gostisbehere ties the game 4-4, unassisted goal. Excuse me. At the 11:19 mark of the period, ties the game. And we're watching this game here in the studio, and I'm saying to myself, is there a possibility this game, the first game of the Stanley Cup playoffs, could go to overtime? But Tomas Hertl gets his fourth of the campaign from Sessons, gets the beautiful pass from Sessons, and he gets it and buries it past Frederick Anderson, and Vegas takes the 5-4 lead. Carolina pulls the goalie, Vegas cannot capitalize, and in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final goes in favor of the Carolina against the Carolina Hurricanes, with the Vegas Golden Knights getting the 5-4 victory. By the way, the over-under set for the game tonight was 5.5 goals. Vegas got to that by themselves, ladies and gentlemen. Carolina outshot Vegas in the game 27-23. Vegas led in the faceoff dot 51% to 49%. Both teams were 0 on the power play. Vegas 0-3. Carolina 0-2. Vegas had 35 hits to Carolina's 26 in the game. Vegas had 16. Carolina had 16 giveaways to Vegas's 18 giveaways. 7 takeaways for Carolina. 3 takeaways for the Vegas Golden Knights. Carolina had 6 minutes in penalties. Vegas had 4 minutes in penalties. Vegas did out-hit Carolina in the game as well, 35-26. So that's how it shakes out for Game 1. Game 2 will be Thursday night, 8 o'clock on ABC. All the games are on ABC. The first 2 games are on Tuesday and Thursday. Game 3 will be on Saturday in Vegas. And then Game 4 shapes up on the 9th, which would be Tuesday. So it's shaping out pretty good right now with regarding the schedule on that round. So, also, to dive into the hockey situation, of course, the big announcement today that Zach Werenski was named the winner of the Norris Trophy for the best defenseman. It is so good to see that. Zach deserved it. He had a hell of a season this year with our Jackets. It's good to see that Zach gets the recognition by he's both voted the best defenseman in the National Hockey League. Werenski this season was, besides helping out with the golden goal and the Olympics, he had a fantastic season this year. A great season. Final stats for Werenski this year. He had 82 points with 23 goals and 59 assists in 81 games this season. So it was good to see. It was honestly good to see him, and I'm just ecstatic. And looking at there's a picture right now I'll probably share it on our Facebook page of Werenski's wearing his gold medal and carrying the Norris Trophy. So it's good to see that as well. Of course, again, Charlie Coyle signing the big deal with the Jackets. That was a huge deal for that realm. Also, it was announced that the All-Star game next year is going to be an interesting one. They'll have the skills competition for players under the age of 25, and then they're going to have a 3-on-3 competition between a USA team, a Canadian team, a Swedish team, a Finnish team, and everybody else. Imagine to be on that team. That team is going to be stacked. Stacked. So there's that for you guys. Also, I want to say congratulations to the Florida Everblades as they eliminated the Wheeling Nailers in the Eastern Conference Finals in the East Coast Hockey League playoffs picture. It was official tonight. It was in overtime. The Kansas City Mavericks defeat the Fort Wayne Komets in overtime tonight by the score of 4-3, eliminating the Fort Wayne Komets in 6 games. So that sets up the rematch as Florida will play Kansas City in a best-of-7 series for the Kelly Cup. Game 1 of that will be Friday in Kansas City, and it's going to be a 2-3-2 series again for the Kelly Cup. And Florida is not the home team because Kansas City had the best record in the regular season. So Kansas City will have games 1 and 2 in their barn, and then they'll be in Modesto, Florida on Wednesday the 10th, then Friday the 12th and 13th. For Game 5, if necessary, will be the 13th. Game 6 will be on Monday the 15th, and then Game 7, if necessary, will then be on Tuesday. It looks like it will be Tuesday, possibly, or maybe Wednesday. I'm going to double check it really quickly. Here it is. Here it is really quickly. And boom, there it is. The final. Boop, 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 boop. Yep. It will be that Tuesday for the Kelly Cup final for Game 7, if necessary. Also, news, of course, from the Fish Tank tonight. Of course, Riley McCourt has signed a deal with the Swedish Pro League. He is going to be heading overseas. And that is the end of Riley McCourt's run with the Toledo Walleye. So there is that. McCourt is done with the Fish. So his rights are still with Toledo. So that is true. That is true. So he's still signed under the Walleye contract, but he is not going to be playing with the Fish anytime soon. So there's that. Also got to make mention of this as well. The Monsters were eliminated by the Toronto Marlies in Game 5, and they got eliminated with like a minute and change left to go. And then, of course, you have Wilkes-Barre Scranton versus the Marlies in the Eastern Conference Final in the American Hockey League. And then you have, I forget who is off the top I hit for the Western Conference. I can look that up really quickly for you guys. But yeah, it is. AHL playoffs. For the final, for the Calder Cup final for the American Hockey League, it will feature the winner of the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Toronto Marlies series, and then in the Eastern Conference, and then in the West, it's going to be. Here you go. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Here it is right here. It will be either Chicago, who defeated Grand Rapids, or Colorado. That series is tied at one game apiece. Their next game will be. They played tonight. Colorado got the win 3-2 over Chicago. In that one, game 4 will be tomorrow night in Chicago. And then, if necessary, it will be game 5 Friday night in Chicago. And then they'll fly out to Colorado for game 6 and game 7 in that realm. And then we'll have the Calder final for that one. Also, got to give congratulations to the Kitchener Rangers of the OHL for the winner of the Memorial Trophy as well. Of course, the big news yesterday, of course. Before we get into that, if you want to know, I'm taking the Spurs. Spurs in 6. I think the Knicks will give the Spurs a run, but I like Wembanyama. I think he's the extra piece in this whole thing. I think that's where it's going to land. That's where I think it's going to land. So there's that for you. So I'll take the Spurs in 7 over the New York Knicks in that one. So there's that. Wanted to get into really quickly before we continue on. This upcoming Saturday, the Belmont Stakes will be taking place for the final time at Saratoga before they go back to Belmont Park for the race. The field is set for the Belmont Stakes. It will be Golden Temple. We'll run the Belmont Stakes after withdrawing from the opportunity to ride in the Preakness. He will draw the 9 position. Emerging Market runs at the 8th position. Commandment at 7th. Growth Equities at 6th. Otero is at 5. Renegades at 4. Chief Wallaby is at 3. Power Shift at 2. And Voltarian Man is at post position 1. These are all post positions for the Belmont Stakes that will take place. The 158 running of the Belmont Stakes will take place this Saturday in Saratoga. So that will be what the running of that is, Belmont Week. And then that is the end, and then we'll head to the Breeders' Cup later on down the road. So I'll build something for us going forward this upcoming week. So be prepared. We'll have that all set up for you on Friday's edition of All India. So there's that for you. But of course, the big trade yesterday, Myles Garrett to the Los Angeles Rams for a first-round pick in next year's draft, a second-round pick in the 28th draft, and a third-round pick in the 29th draft, plus a player. I say to this, it's not going to be a good season for Cleveland. Taking the opportunity and taking your one-of-one player, which is Myles Garrett, and then trading him, he takes this no-trade clause, waives it, and he gets sent out to Los Angeles. Just puts that division now, I'm going to say it. The AFC West and the NFC West are probably the two best divisions. The two best divisions in all of the National Football League. The West runs the NFL. Sure, they'll have the blips in the East, of course, with Buffalo and Cincinnati and the Lions and the rumblings out of Chicago, which, by the way, the Bears situation with them leaving to go to Indiana, it's an absolute train wreck out of that situation, which I don't like. But Myles Garrett being traded was a total shocker to me. I think it's going to be interesting to see how he's going to work with Aaron Donald out there. But Myles, I wish all the best of luck to him. They get rid of Chubb, they get rid of Garrett, and Harold Fannon's still there. So I have at least one guy to watch from Route 4 with the Browns. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And I'm hopeful for the Lions this season. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But it's gonna. I'm hoping for a good season for the Lions this year. Everybody fully healthy, fully ready to go, and how the division is set up and how it's supposed to play. There's a good, strong possibility that the Lions could be the real deal. Could be the real deal. So I'm just gonna put that pin right there. Put the pin right there. So there is that for you. As you're watching and listening to All Andy Alfred tonight, right here on the All Andy Alfred Podcast Network, whether it be on Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Bleaker, however you're listening to us, wherever and whenever you're listening to us. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's time to talk a little golf coverage, of course. This weekend is the big one down in Columbus, Ohio. Of course, the Memorial Tournament is Jack's tournament. It's one of my favorite tournaments to watch. Of course, in Dublin, Ohio, a full cast, a full list coming in to this tournament. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how, coming off of 2 straight weeks in Texas with the Charles Schwab, and you had the Byron Nelson, and then you're now coming into Jack's place, and Scheffler was the winner last year of the tournament, but this field this year is going to be very, very interesting. You got Olberg, you got Rory McIlroy coming off of the big win at the Masters. Jordan Spieth, Horschel, Jason Day. You've got Shane Lowry there, Justin Rose, Tommy Fleetwood. This is Jack's tournament. Fitzpatrick, Chef. It is a full cast. And after a few weeks with the standard, 2 weeks of the PGA being what it is, and having PGA players play in the tournament, to have these big names back in, it's going to help out. It's going to definitely help out. So there, in that realm. But the big one is happening in Riviera this week as the U.S. Women's Open takes the field at the Riviera Country Club in the Pacific Palisades this weekend. It is a full stack, full cast, and it is a huge, huge field. A lot of amateurs in this tournament as well, too. You have Zoe Kruchak from the United States. She's going to be one, too, to watch. But you have the standards, the Lindy Duncans, the Allie Ewings. You also have a few players that are going to be making a name. Of course, you have Lynn Grant and Melanie Green. You have Nasahara Oka, one of the previous winners of the Marathon Classic. One of my favorite players, Brooke Henderson, is in this tournament. She's going to be playing in this round. Charlie Hull in this tournament. This is going to be very interesting to see how she's going to perform going forward. You also have, You also have Danielle Kang and Megan Kang, as well as what surprised me is that you don't have Alexi Thompson this year. You have Lydia Ko, but Nelly Korda was a big one for me. Nelly Korda is playing in this tournament. I'm surprised her sister's not playing in this tournament as well. Jennifer Kupcho, Brittany Lang, Andrea Lee, Minji Lee, Junlee Six is playing in this one too. Gabby Lopez, a full field. This is a huge field for this tournament, and I'm really looking forward to it. Anna Nordquist, Catherine Park is playing in the tournament as well too. Yuka Sasso, Jasmine Suwanapura is playing in it. It's a Asters Tally, who's in the amateur as well, is playing in this tournament. She played in the Marathon Classic a few years ago. Lydia Vu as well too. Chanti Wanasayan is in this one too. And Michelle Wee West is in this tournament. Michelle Wee is in this tournament. That tells you something too. Amy Yang as well too, as well as Rose Zhang and Wee Wee Zhang as well too. So it all tees off on Thursday at Riviera. And let me give you some tee times really quickly. All the coverage is going to be on the USA Network the first 2 days of the tournament. And let me give you a viewing schedule. And I want you guys to watch this tournament because next year the U.S. Women's Open comes to Inverness Club in Toledo, Ohio. They're going to be promoting this very, very highly during this tournament because of how everything's going to shake out. And then next week, there will be a press event at Inverness Club to preview because it will be 100 days until that tournament will tip. Or not 100 days, but it'll be over a year away from the tee-off of the U.S. Women's Open. But Thursday, it'll be on USA and NBCSN. I'll be doing a lot of feature groups through on the Peacock from 2 to 7. Same thing schedule on Friday from 2 to 7 on USA Network and NBCSN. And then on Saturday, the first round 3 will be on from 5 to 7 on USA, and then from 7 to 10 on NBC. And Sunday, it will finish up with Peacock at from 3 to 8, and then from 5 to 8, it will be on the NBC as well. So there is that. The U.S. Women's Open at Riviera Country Club in the Palisades of California. It's good to see the Palisades back after the fire because of that. Excuse me. So there is that. And remember, all our golf coverage is sponsored by our good friends at Scramble Stick and Scramble Clip. Remember, whenever you need to pick up the pace, Scramble Stick is the club for you. So there is that. Interesting facts for this tournament, of course. Too, the architect of the course is George Thompson Jr. It opened in 1926. There's 156 competitors in the field. It'll be, if you look at it, Adam Stark was the champion last year. It'll be 18 holes played each day from Thursday to Saturday. The cut is lower than 60 scores, and ties will play the final hole. Should there be a tie after 72 holes, 2-hole aggregated playoff will take place. Let's see here. And again, June 3rd through the 6th. So it'll be 1 year from tomorrow. 1 year from tomorrow, we'll start the U.S. Women's Open at Inverness Club. At Inverness Club. Remember that, ladies and gentlemen. June 3rd through the 6th. And then remember, the U.S. Men's Open will be at Inverness in 2030 with regarding of that. But again, Madeline Stark from Sweden was the champion last year. She has turned the championship over, and we'll see who's going to lift the trophy this upcoming Sunday. Also, again, got to give credit. Also, great clash in Italy. Cody Rhodes beating Gunther. Sol Ruca beating Becky Lynch to get the Intercontinental Championship. You also had the retaining, Cody Rhodes retaining. You also had Roman Reigns beating Jacob Fatu in Tribal Combat. Brock Lesnar beating Obafemi was a big one there. That was a huge one as well as Rhea Ripley defeating Jade Cargill for the WWE Women's Championship. So there's that. Yeah, and I gave you my Andy rants at the beginning of the program about the situation. I'm very worried about what the summer is going to look like here in Northwest Ohio. What's happening. But in the end, hopefully, it all works out, and we only know one person that knows the plan, and that's the man upstairs. And that's truly, truly what matters the most. So, we'll be back on the air Friday night to recap and preview the series for the Tigers as they get ready for the Mariners. The Guardians continuing their road trip in Texas as well. And we'll also dive more into Game 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And Game 2 of the NBA Finals will be taking place as well, to Friday as well. So we'll give you a little bit of that, as well as taking a look at the scorecards and a scoreboard for the Memorial happening in Dublin, as well as the U.S. Women's Open happening in the Riviera in the Palisades of California. So there is all that. It's been a pleasure to be back on the air with you guys tonight. And it's good to see my good friend Nick, the Money Man DeVera. I hope he is doing very, very well. If you know Nick, you know about the situation that he's been in the past. So I want to dedicate this podcast to him and to all those that are battling what's happening in their lives. And it's good to see. It was good to see him, and he looks cheerful and bright. And I'm very happy to call him not only my cousin, but one of my best friends. So. To everybody out there, thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. Remember, like and subscribe on our YouTube channel right here, as well as on our Facebook. Go to facebook.com/allandyalfred. If you want to talk, put a question, comment, concern right here, post it on the Facebook, as well as right here on the YouTube channel, as well as on our Twitter account, which is @allandyalfred. It is @allandyalfred. Until I talk to you guys Friday night right here on the All Andy Alfred Podcast Network, this is Andy Alfred saying I'm pulling for you. We're all in this together. The game of life. Keep your stick on the ice. And to the teams you root for at home, and to my teams, go Jackets! Congratulations, Zach, on the Norris Trophy. Go Walleye. Good luck, Riley. Go Tigers. Oh, get back into the keep winning. Go Guardians. Beat the Yankees. Good job, Reds. Let's go Hens. Go Falcons. Football season's right around the corner. Go Lions. And more birdies and less bogeys. Because victory is sweetest when you have tasted defeat. Have a great night, everybody, and a great rest of the week. I'm headed to the zoo tomorrow with my nieces and my nephews. Pray for me, my friends. Until then, I love you guys. Love you, babe. Talk to you guys on Friday night.